Welcome to my inaugural episode of One. My last chat video didn't do so well, and I thought maybe I need to change some things, shake it up a little bit, or just try something new. So I'm going to try this format out and see how it goes. I'm going to look at one item from a variety of genres in each video. And since it's not labeled a certain day like Friday Night Chats, well then I am free to publish a video whenever I'm ready. So let's jump in and get started.
What a day this has been. What a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love.
I was at a thrift store yesterday and I picked up this copy of Johnny Hartman's Unforgettable. It is on the Impulse label and it has 17 tracks, which mostly are American standards. Like Almost Like Being in Love, Isn't It Romantic, Our Love Is Here to Stay, The Very Thought of You, Unforgettable, Ain't Misbehavin', and That Old Black Magic. So there's a lot of songs on here that I knew before listening to this album. I wasn't sure if I knew this singer or not, but the price was right. It was $3, and I love digipacks like this. So I went into this album not knowing anything about it. As you open the digipack, it's got this really cool image, and then here we go. And it has a booklet. I'm going to read a couple quotes because it was amusing. So inside the booklet, you have some neat images, mostly of him smoking. I guess he smoked a lot. I take that back. There's only one picture of him smoking, but I think when I looked online, there were more. Johnny has a smooth baritone with a full, rich quality. Physically, he's a slight fellow with the Sinatra-type appeal for the gals. What about for the guys? This quote is classic. And like his colleagues, Hartman possessed the ability to stroke a ballad with the sensual slowness and patience of a solicitous lover. Hot. What did I think? Because I listened to this in my car before I did any research. It's immediately a big band sound. Now there is some variety within the music, like you will hear some other types of music genres trying to be woven in, but overall this is a singer with an orchestra. By the end of the CD, it did start to sound samey to me. However, there are some really great standout tracks, and I'm sure that as I listen to this more, I'm going to like it more and more. There were two songs that I really immediately were drawn to. And the first one is Bidin' My Time. I love how he said the lyric, Bidin' My Time, thinking that I'm. Now, I wanted him to sing I'm to rhyme with time, but he would do Bidin' My Time, thinking that I am, or I am. And so he drew it out. For some reason, that was so catchy. And I always keep singing it. I'm, and then I add the am at the end.
I'm biding my time, 'cause that's the kind of guy I am. While other folks grow busy, I keep busy biding my time.
It's really fun. And then Down in the Depths of the 90th Floor, that is a Cole Porter standard that I absolutely love. And I think he does a really great job. Because of his deep voice, it adds to this idea of in the depths.
Here I stand above the town, drinking champagne with a frown, down in the depths on the 90th floor.
Now, what did I find out after listening to this album? So this is a compilation of his first two albums for the Impulse, and I think they might be his first two albums overall. And they're in a pop vein, whereas the pop at this time is like singing standards. He went on to make 4 other albums in a slightly different genre, in a more jazzy vein. And I guess later in his career, he did a few other albums, but he never got a great success. But what I found out is that this is a compilation of his first 2 albums. There are songs from both albums that are left off. From his second album, the first side is completely gone from this, but the second side, there's something interesting about it because he recorded it as if it were a live session, even though it's in the studio. And he was pretending like, well, not pretending, but he was using the studio like a nightclub, and they invited about 10 or 15 people into the session, and he would talk to them in between tracks like it was a nightclub. That entire side is included in this, but the first side is gone. In addition, from the first album, there are just a couple tracks that aren't on this. However, I felt that this was a really cool introduction to this singer, especially his earlier non-jazz stuff. And there's a couple of, like I mentioned, standout tracks that if you want to go to Spotify and hear, you can. Again, I would start with Almost Like Being in Love, because it starts off the album with a bang. Then I would go to Biding My Time and Down in the Depths. But if there's another standard on this compilation that you like, then I would start there and see which version that you like. If you want to compare his version to a different version, which is something I always really like to do. I would give this CD a 3.5 out of 5 stars, but it was definitely worth the $3 that I paid for it. We're going to look at a song. I was listening to NPR, and Renee Fleming has a new album out. So Renee Fleming is an opera singer, in case you didn't know, and she paired with Bella Fleck, who is, for the most part, I believe, a banjo player. They were both joking around on NPR, and Bela was saying something to the effect that I like anytime I'm noticed. And something that Renee said about this album is that whenever she sings anything that's non-opera, she usually goes for a lower register. And that's really true on this recording. But as I was listening to this album, and I only listened to it once, one track really stood out, and I thought I would feature that. And that is Scarlet Ribbons.
Through the night, my heart was aching. Just before the dawn was breaking, I peeked in, and on her pillow, on her pillow, lying there.
Of course, this is a song made famous by Harry Belafonte. Maybe other people have sung it. I believe Frank Sinatra has, at least. It's probably one of those standards that a lot of people sing. But as I was listening to the songs in the car also, this song really stopped me. I was pulled into a parking lot and this song was on, and I didn't want to turn off the car. It's beautifully sung. Next, I'm going to feature a set of tobacco cards that I just got in the mail off of eBay. This is a set of 50 tobacco cards from 1922. And this is considered the golden age of tobacco cards before bubblegum cards took over and replaced tobacco cards as the main collectible way to get cards. This set was ridiculously cheap for being from 1922. I'm shocked at how cheap these are. And what they have is on the back of them, all 50 of them, they have facts to inform their collectors on 50 different subjects. So as I'm talking, I'm going to show the 50 different cards. This is an amazing set. I'm going to show off a few of my favorites. Oh, and this is from the Wills cigarettes. I believe they're a UK tobacco company. Yeah, of Great Britain and Ireland, it says on the back. So I really like this lightning card, this mirage card, this fishing boat card, a sailor's collar, a shooting star, and a sunset. If you want an affordable collectible, this is the way to go. 50 cards, a full set from 1922 to get them for under $20. I think I paid way less than that. So my one book is going to be On the Calculation of Volume, Book 1 by Solveig Bale. I'm sure I'm butchering that. Solveig Bale, and it's translated by Barbara Haviland. When I came across this on Amazon, I bought that just for the cover. I think that is a gorgeous cover. But this was a fascinating book. I've only read book 1. I have book 2. I haven't started it yet. And this book is 161 pages. It's pretty short, But this is sci-fi with a very literary twist. If you want to read this book, you have to have patience. Now, what it does is it takes the lived over recurring day theme and it runs with it. A rare bookseller wakes up, goes on a trip to France from England, I believe. A few things happen. We go through her entire day, and then for some reason, inexplicable, she just lives that day over and over again. Now, what's really fascinating about this book is it doesn't follow the traditional physics of these loop narratives. Traditionally, wherever you woke up on that day, that's where you wake up again. And no matter what happens, that day repeats from that same point. But the rules break. She can go wherever she wants, and wherever she falls asleep, she stays there. Whatever she has on her immediate person or very near her body stays with her. So for example, she buys a couple of rare books that she's going to take back to England, and she has a couple of them on her, but a couple others she put across the room on a table. The ones that are on her stayed with her, but the other ones, it was like she never bought them. So that was a really interesting twist in this book. Now, what happens in this book is she does and tries so many things. This is a year of days. She tries going back with her husband and getting him involved, but every day she has to tell him again. She gets tired of this. But what's really interesting about this book is that she falls into a rhythm where she is like a ghost haunting her own house. She gets so used to the rhythms of her husband that as he gets up, so normally on that day, he got up without her. He lives his entire day, and she gets used to the rhythms of him that she inhabits that house without letting him know she's there. And she is a part of his life, but yet she's not. And so it's like she's this ghost haunting their lives. That was a really cool aspect of this book. What is one thing that's going to be off-putting is that her life becomes so mundane and so boring that the writer wants us to understand this. The writer puts us through the paces of someone living this day over and over again, and how ultimately horribly boring it is, and how someone can feel so disconnected and stop caring about themselves and their hygiene, their eating habits. And this is where the literary element of this book will take over. Someone who strictly likes sci-fi only will not really enjoy this book. However, if you don't mind a little bit of the literary element thrown in, this book can be very rewarding. I am very excited to find out. I think there are 5 volumes in this set. I'm very excited to know where book 2 goes. If it's the same character, is it the next 365 days on this journey of the same character? I don't know yet. So I would say give On the Calculation of volume book 1 a try. Read half of it, and if you don't like where it's going, stop. It's not a very expensive book. It's a beautiful book, and the way that the author throws away the tropes of the recurring day and makes up, I just realized, I don't know if Solveig is a male or a female, makes up his or her own physics. I loved that. But again, it's not going to be for everyone because of its really slow pacing, especially in the second half of this book where this character is just lost. We're going to talk about this movie, Satan's Slave. This is number 159 in The Indicator. If you are interested in Indicator, their early films, they have a 3 for $20 sale if you're in the United States. I'm sure they have that around the world because this is, I think, a British company. But be careful, they have UK releases, and then they have, I should say they have region releases, so you just got to be careful. This movie, I didn't know what I was getting into, although, I mean, with a title like Satan's Slave, and then, I mean, you could see what's going on here. The back tagline says, "It's Catherine's birthday. You're invited to her torture party." I was expecting torture porn, basically, and there is some of that, but not a lot, actually. It's more about I thought it was going to be way more about a cult, and that does figure in, but this is more about a demented psycho killer who's wealthy, and then he has his way with women before he kills them, and then there's some... I don't even believe I'm saying this. There's like a lot of rape in this movie, and then killing, and I don't know. I didn't hate this movie. It was certainly fun to watch. I mean, not really. Let's just say I'm glad I watched it. It wasn't horrible, not my cup of tea, but it was fun for the 70s. The vibe to it. This is a movie from 1976. A woman and her family are driving to their cousin's house or uncle's house or something, and they crash in the driveway. And then she wakes up, her family's dead, and she's like in that house while she's recuperating. And then weird things start to happen. This has amazing titles. So I'm going to put a couple of them on the screen. If you do nothing, I don't know if you could Google Satan's Slaves title sequence and watch it. I thought it was fascinating. Now, what's really cool about these indicator releases is there are so many special features. In fact, this movie is still in my PlayStation because I haven't finished with the special features. But I listened to almost all of the first audio commentary with Warren and screenwriter David McGillivray from 2004. This is another one of those commentaries where like one guy knows everything about the movie and then the other guy is like, huh? He's like, he admits, oh, I haven't watched this since it came out. And oh, I'm glad you're here because I don't know anything. And he's basically going, oh yeah. And then he would make jokes that would get everything derailed. And then the main guy, who's probably the director, Warren, Norman J. Warren. So he's got to get it back on track. It's pretty funny. So I did enjoy that commentary just because there's, the one guy was kind of clueless and he was just like, hey, I'm here. Now, there are some interesting aspects because this movie was censored and cut. They do mention that in the commentary. There is nudity in this film, pretty graphic nudity, actually. In fact, it was pretty funny because the other guy who was there, David McGillivray, he was commenting, oh, I'm so happy that I got any work and I don't know why. Like when you called me, I was ready to jump in. I'm like, you contact, like they were talking about all the other people in the movie and how they were trying to, contact them to do something for the release. And the one guy was like, I don't know why they're embarrassed. I mean, it's like some people are just so snooty now and they don't want to be involved in this stuff. And I was thinking to myself, well, you didn't have to take off your clothes in every scene and have close-ups of your breasts and genitals like the women in this movie, because he was talking about a female actress who like didn't want to be contacted and probably just wanted to forget she ever did this. And I just thought that was pretty funny. So anyways, how would I rate Satan's Slave? I don't know. It kind of doesn't live up to its title, but it still has everything you want in like a slasher horror movie from the 70s. I would say that this is a 3 out of 5 for a normal viewer. But if you're into this genre of movie, then, you have to watch it because I think it's an important film in the genre. I mean, it's one of these movies where they even talk about it in the commentary, how they had a shoestring budget. The actors had to bring their own clothes. They were filming in this gorgeous mansion that the people who own the place, they were like, yeah, you can film here. And like other movies had been filmed there, and they're like, I don't know if how much they charged them or whatnot, but they were happy to have movies filmed in their mansion. And so like every bedroom is gorgeous with all this beautiful art all over the walls. And they were, talking about in the commentary, oh, we'd never be able to afford any of this, and the only thing we would have to buy is if an actor, we had to like tear the clothes or rip the clothes, then we would have to bring those clothes. But otherwise, the actors all brought their own clothes. It's really funny how when you listen to the commentaries, and these movies were made on like shoestring budgets. I got way off topic on that. 3.5 maybe, and but if you're 3 to 3.5 stars. But if you're a fan of this genre of movie, you should get it. And especially you can get movies like this from Indicator 3 for $20, which is such a great deal. Let's briefly examine Dune 1 from 1975 by H.R. Giger. Giger was brought on to develop the Harkonnen homeworld Giedi Prime for the first Dune movie by Jodorowsky. There's tons of information about this failed project, but Giger's imagining of this homeworld is beautifully horrific. His biomechanical mixture of flesh and machine makes this homeworld horrific. The perfect playground for the cruel Baron Harkonnen. So I got this image from the H.R. Giger Taschen, which is on page 190. The graphic novel Everything Dead and Dying is a collection of 5 issues. This is about the sole survivor of a town in a zombie apocalypse who keeps the town alive by feeding everyone in the town meat. And this allows everyone in the town to have muscle memory and continue doing what they did in life. Now, throughout the 5 issues, he confuses the past and the present, and you will often get images of zombies either in his past life or his present life mixed in with the people who are now the dead. I found this fascinating in the art, but what drives the narrative is about halfway through, a band of outsiders show up. Of course, they don't understand what he's doing, and they are scouts for a larger community, and they want everything that he has. The covers of these comics are simply stunning, and I really appreciated the full page cover art included as extras in this. As you can see, the art is very dark, and even the borders in most cases are black. And it really adds to the gothic nature of this graphic novel. Now, of course, when they're given his past history, the color palette is a lot lighter. And then the modern color palette is dark. Here you could see a mixture of both. And I would say that for the art alone, this is worth purchasing. This is put out by Image Comics, and it is $16.99 US. This is typical zombie apocalypse fare, although it does try to do things in a different way and go in a different slant. And ultimately, it does succeed in that. This is a story that is different from other zombie stories. However, there's no escaping the tropes of this genre, so it can't be wholly original. Having said that, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I mean, knowing what it was when I bought it, I thoroughly enjoyed this. And if you're a fan of this genre, this is an absolute must, especially for the gorgeous art and the really interesting story. However, if you're not a fan of this genre, I do not know if you would really enjoy this series of 5 comics or this graphic novel. But if you appreciate nice art that is very dark in nature, then I think you're going to enjoy this graphic novel. I really liked the art in the chapter breaks with these bold images with these blank backgrounds. I believe that this is definitely worth your money, and for the art alone, it should be on your shelf. For magazines, we're going to look at the latest issue of Vampirus Carmilla, number 33, that just came out with this gorgeous Frank Frazetta cover. I love how they're using Frank Frazetta art in this. This has 6 stories in them, each by different artists and writers, and overall this was a very enjoyable story. When you read something like Vampirus Carmilla, you know that you're not going for depth. You're going for these really short stories where they will laugh at it in the end, in the vein of The Crypt Keeper. So what you're really going for is, can a story in a couple of pages wow you with its art and pull you into the story? This story, called The Dreaming Nile, you could see that this art is really detailed and really nice. The art is by Harold Robertson, story by Bambos Georgiou. Look at that detail. The next story is The Weird Kingdom, art by Reno Manikis, story by Don Glut. And again, this one has really neat art. Look at the detail and the beauty of that Japanese maiden. Sorry for spoilers, but this end panel is so beautiful. Next, we have Kiss of Death. And just look at the detail in this black and white drawing. This is art by Santos Zabayos, story by Bambos Georgiou. So again, it's really hard to be original when you're pumping out issue after issue of 5 or 6 stories. But what they do with the art and the page count is really fun. We take a dip in quality in the art. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just not as detailed as the other ones when it comes to When Love Dies. This is art by Rodel Noura and story again by Bambos Georgiou. This is a vampire story with a little twist. Next we have Hot Seat. Again, art by Santos Zaballos. And this is about an avenging man who's put to death in an electric chair. This is very Shocker, the movie Shocker. Again, we got some really cool, detailed black and white art here. And the final story has art by Nick Poliuko. And in some ways, this art was very reminiscent of, I can't remember, the guy who did The Invaders later in its run. I do not like that artist's style, and I'm going to say that is very simplistic with very minimal backgrounds, but it's not terrible. But I much prefer the art earlier in the magazine. This is a twist on a Renfield-like character and his vampire master, in this case, a female. So here we have Vampirist Carmilla, number 33. This is a Warrant magazine, $7. Is it worth it? I think so. I enjoyed reading this, and it was fun. I enjoyed examining the art. Is this a must? No, absolutely not. I believe if you read one or two of these magazines throughout their entire history, you're kind of getting the same thing. And so this is nothing new in that regard. However, they are fun reads. It's really nice to look at the black and white art. And I mean, I buy them just for these gorgeous covers. Next, we're going to look at Journey into Mystery number 6. And this is from 1973. And this is an all reprint issue. And all the stories come from one issue. I think it was Journey into Mystery number 8. Anyways, I'll put the cover on. Now, what's interesting about the original comic is it had 6 stories, I believe, but this one only has 4. So they left 2 of them out. The first story is He Who Hesitates. And this is about a supremely ugly professor with an extremely sexy wife. And of course, that's not going to end well. The next is The Strange Case of Mr. Wimple, which is the cover story. This is about a lowlife who sees a man always carrying a box on his shoulder, and he begins to imagine that there must be jewels or some other wealth in that box, and he's determined to do whatever it takes to get that box, including murder. This had a really fun ending. Next, we have Indoor Sport. The first panel of this Indoor Sport is this really weird 3D effect of a dart being thrown at a dartboard. And it took me a while to figure out what that was. It looks like some kind of weird submarine. It's just, once you get to like the second or third panel, you understand. But I was just like, what is that? This is about a type of succubus woman who drains the life force of the men that she encounters. The next story is Tough Guy, and I actually really enjoyed this. This is a guy who wants to be the toughest man there is, and he's trying to impress a woman, so he does increasingly reckless things when he finds out that there is a serum that could make his body impenetrable and bulletproof. And boy, does he get his comeuppance. I'm not going to spoil it, but I really enjoyed this ending. This was one of those that I didn't think about it, and so this story took me along for the ride. At the end of this comic, we have a really cool Morbius advertisement and Foom. And Journey into Mystery number 6 is a great reprint of these earlier Atlas era horror stories. And I just wish that the whole issue had been reprinted. But we do get this really cool updated cover with this logo. I mean, that logo is gorgeous. And then the colors just pop on this. If you come across this comic for under $10, it's definitely worth buying. And this concludes my inaugural episode of One. So I don't normally ask this, but if you could, please hype this video since it's the first in the series. Also, I'm always appreciative of the likes and I'm always appreciative of the comments. If you liked a particular segment of this, please let me know. Since this is going to be a variety show, I will include different aspects each time I do one of these episodes. So let me know in the comments how you feel about this. If you watch both my Friday Night Chats and you're watching this one, let me know which format you like better. And as always, I want to thank you for the support.